I felt it before I saw it. The shift in the air, heavy, wrong. The night was supposed to be quiet. Just me leaving the library, crossing the lot with Jasper shadowing, like always. But then the lights flickered, and that low scrape of footsteps followed. Not his. Someone else. River! Jasper's voice cut sharp, urgent. His hand grabbed mine, strong and unyielding. Run! I didn't argue. We sprinted across asphalt, the echo of pursuit behind us. My lungs burned, my chest a drum of panic. He shoved me ahead, fast, faster, until the sleek black car came into sight. Jasper yanked the door open, practically throwing me inside before sliding in after, slamming it shut. Glass rattled as something slammed against the outside. My heart lurched. Jasper's growl rumbled low. Animal as he jammed the key, engine roaring to life. Tires screeched, smoke curled, and we shot out into the night. For a long, wild moment, it was just speed. Darkness whipping past, his hands gripping the wheel so tight. His knuckles went white, my breath shallow, broken. Then silence, the kind that throbbed with too much left unsaid. I turned and he was right there, close, too close. His jaw tight, his chest heaving, emerald eyes burning, like they wanted to devour and deny me all at once. Are you... I tried to speak, but it came out a whisper. He cut me off without words. His hand left the wheel, caught the back of my neck, and suddenly his mouth was on mine. Heat, desperate, rough. I gasped into him, fingers clawing at his shirt, pulling him closer instead of pushing away. The kiss wasn't careful. It was chaos. Adrenaline turned to fire. His teeth scraped my lip. I groaned. He swallowed. The sound like it belonged to him. The car sped on, engine humming beneath us, but I barely noticed. His hand slid down, gripping my thigh, claiming more space than he should. Every touch was a command, every kiss a warning. Jasper! I tried again, but my voice broke against his tongue. He dragged back just enough to breathe, forehead pressed hard to mine. His voice was low, ruined. You drive me insane, River! And then his lips crashed back, harder this time, like he couldn't stand even the air between us. The night outside was still dangerous. Someone out there wanted me dead. But in that car, with his mouth, claiming mine like he'd never let go, danger felt like the only excuse we needed. Flashback. 6 months ago. 6 months ago, my life stopped feeling like mine. One moment I was walking out of the family estate gates, late afternoon sun soft on my face, the world, steady and ordinary. The next, gunfire cracked through the air. The ground erupted beside me. Shouts, chaos, the rush of blood in my ears. I barely remember the escape, just the searing sting across my arm, the panic clawing at my chest, and the way my cousins dragged me inside while guards scrambled to put bodies between me and death. The only thing I knew for certain was this: someone wanted me gone. In the chaos that followed, I heard whispers. A guard muttered near the hallway. No peck war would be this reckless unless. Another voice, low and scared. Could be Syndicate. Saw men in town last week. Strangers, silver eyes. They hire anything with claws. The word chilled the room, then drifted away, but in hindsight, it lingered like a bad omen. From that day forward, I wasn't River anymore. I was the Omega heir they tried to kill. A name on a hit list, a bargaining chip, a target, and then he arrived. Jasper, my father's new solution, hired the very next morning. He refused to entrust my life to anyone from our usual circles. Rumors of Syndicate involvement made him desperate enough to trust outside help. A. Highly recommended mercenary, neutral, with spotless credentials delivered by a war comrade. Only. Much later would I learn how neatly Jasper's references were forged. He stepped into the estate like he owned it. Tall, broad-shouldered, all sharp black suit and sharper stare. Cold, silent, unreadable. But there was something about him that hit me harder than the memory of. Bullets, a weight in the air, a quiet storm standing in my hallway. He wasn't like the guards I'd grown up with. They hovered politely, professional but familiar. Jasper wasn't polite. He was presence, command, the kind of man who looked at a room once and knew exactly where danger would come from. And God's help me, he was beautiful. Pitch black hair that caught the light like glass, skin tanned, jaw carved like stone, lips full but never soft. And those eyes, emerald green, cutting, cold. They didn't just see me, they pinned me, like he was, deciding whether I was worth protecting at all. That was 6 months ago. For 6 months, Jasper was my shadow, guarding every step as danger kept, pressing in. Every time I moved, he was half a step behind. When I sat in meetings, his arms folded, broad shoulders, leaning against the wall, eyes sweeping over everyone like knives. When I walked through a crowd, his palm pressed low on my back, guiding me without words, steady, firm, too firm. I'd feel the heat of his touch long after it was gone. I noticed the little things, how he moved through the house without sound, how he never flinched, never faltered, how the air shifted when he was near, heavier, tighter, charged. I told myself it was paranoia, or maybe lust, probably both. But then came the moments that made me doubt. Like the time an intruder got too close, slipping past the gates with a knife. I froze, panic locking me in place until Jasper moved. Brutal efficiency. No hesitation. He disarmed the man, slammed him to the ground, and held a blade to his throat in less than 3 seconds. When it was over, he didn't even look. Winded. He just turned to me, expression blank, and asked, "You hurt?" I couldn't speak. My pulse was a runaway drum. I shook my head, and he simply nodded as if saving my life was just another item on his list. Or the night I caught him staring. I'd been lounging in the study, pretending to read, pretending I didn't know he was at his usual post by the door. But when I glanced up, his eyes were already on me. Not scanning, not guarding, watching. For a second, just a second, something cracked in that stone facade. A hunger. Sharp, uncontrolled. Then he blinked, looked away, and the mask snapped back in place. That was how it always was with him. I teased him sometimes, just to see what would happen. A smirk. A comment about how he was more intimidating than the threats outside. Once, I even asked him if he ever smiled. His jaw flexed, his gaze flicked to my lips, but he didn't give me the satisfaction. Not a grin, not even a twitch, just silence. Still, I felt it. The current between us. The way every touch lingered too long, every glance burned too hot. The way his presence wrapped around me, suffocating and safe all at once. It was more than nerves, but not enough to have a name. A slow-burning magnetism, each rush of heartbeat reminding me of something dangerous in my blood. 6 months of this. 6 months of danger outside the gates, of isolation, of being locked away from the world, except for him. Jasper, my storm, my shadow, my bodyguard. The one man I should never want, and the one man I couldn't stop thinking about. Flashback ends. The world blurred into headlights. Speed, danger, then heat. Jasper's mouth was on mine, wild and desperate, the taste of adrenaline bittersweet on my tongue. My hands clawed at his jacket, pulling him closer instead of shoving him away. The car veered sharp, his grip on the wheel wrenched it steady. Then his lips broke from mine, sliding lower, down my jaw, hot against my neck. Jasper! It was a gasp, not a warning. He froze for a fraction of a second, chest heaving against mine, and then his control shattered, teeth grazed skin. White heat tore through me. A spark, a burn, a claim. I cried out, body arching, every nerve lit alive. My hands fisted in his shirt, eyes rolling shut as something snapped inside me, something binding, humming, alive. His growl vibrated against my throat, raw and dangerous. Then it was gone. He tore himself away, shoving the car into park, breathing like he'd just committed a crime. And maybe he had. The last thing I saw before darkness pulled me under was Jasper's face, wide-eyed, shaken, a storm, breaking behind his emerald gaze. The next morning, I woke to silence. Not peace, not calm. Silence like a held breath, heavy and waiting. The room was dim, one of the estate's guest chambers. My body felt strange, buzzing, alive, too aware of itself. My skin burned at my throat, throbbing faintly where his mouth had been. When I shifted, the hum inside me shifted too, like a tether pulling taut. I wasn't alone. Jasper was there, sitting in the corner, elbows on his knees, head bowed. For the first time since I'd met him, he didn't look like steel. He looked haunted. His head snapped up when I stirred. His eyes met mine, sharp, searching. Relief flared, then vanished, buried under that mask again. What happened? My voice cracked. Nothing, he said too fast. You were just in shock. Rest. But my throat ached, pulsing. The hum between us wouldn't let me rest. I swallowed hard. You did something to me. His jaw clenched. He looked away, fists tightening against his knees. It was a mistake, he muttered, low, rough. It wasn't supposed to happen. The denial should have soothed me. Instead, it stung, because the bond under my skin whispered. Otherwise. The silence stretched until it cracked. You're not just a bodyguard. My voice was thin, accusing. He didn't move, didn't breathe. But the truth was already there, in the way his shoulders tensed, in the way he couldn't meet my eyes. I pushed, anger spiking through the fog of desire. What are you, Jasper? What did you do to me? His head snapped up then, eyes burning. You think I wanted this? His voice thundered low, sharp, enough to cut. I came here to protect you. Not... His breath hitched, hands curling into fists. Not to. Claim you. My heart stopped. The words settled heavy. Claim. I whispered it. You're an alpha. A muscle ticked in his jaw. He didn't deny it. I shook my head, cold rushing down my spine. No, that's not. You can't be. You're not one of us. You're... His silence said the rest. When I slid shaky fingers over the mark, something about the pattern stopped me cold. Gold shimmered. At the edges, a color only the black pine alphas carried. My heart hammered as memories surfaced. Jasper calling me cub the night before, the old rival idioms. In moments of stress, his strange, wild scent unlike any of my pack. Suddenly, I saw what I hadn't dared before. My bodyguard wasn't from my world. He was from theirs. The enemy, hidden in plain sight. The betrayal hit like a blade in my chest. 6 months. 6 months of his hand on my back, his shadow in, my every step, and all this time, He wasn't one of us at all. Why? My voice broke. Why are you here? He looked at me then, truly looked. The storm in his eyes wasn't cold anymore. It was raw, desperate. Because something bigger is coming for you, River. Bigger than your pack. Bigger than mine. And I'm the only one standing between you and death. From then on, nothing was the same. The bond hummed between us, constant, undeniable. Every time he entered a room, I felt it. The tug under my skin, the ache in my chest. His presence filled me, pulled me, consumed me. We tried to act normal. He stood guard like always, silent and cold. I pretended I could ignore it, but nights bled into danger, and danger bled into temptation. The next attack came fast, gunfire ripping through windows, shadows swarming the hall. Jasper was there before I even screamed, dragging me down, shielding me with his own body. His growl shook, through me, primal, protective. When it was over, when the threat was gone, his hands didn't let go. They lingered on my arms, my waist gripping too tight like he couldn't stand to release me. His eyes burned into mine, chest heaving. We stood too close, breathing the same air. The bond thrummed, begging, and I wanted him. Gods, I wanted him. The man who was supposed to be my enemy. The man who'd betrayed me with truth and desire all. Tangled. At night when I lay awake, I could almost feel him. That bond humming, pulling me toward his door. Some nights I swore I heard him pacing, restless, fighting the same hunger. And every day, every brush of his hand, every glance that lingered too long, it got worse. I was craving the one man I could never have. My protector, my rival, my alpha. A few days later. We never talked about it. We didn't need to. By day, Jasper was the same, silent, commanding, watchful. Always half a step behind me, always the shadow in the corner. By night, things changed. The bond grew unbearable in the dark. I'd feel it thrumming under my skin, pulling me toward him like a string tied tight between us. Sometimes I'd fight it, clutching the sheets, staring at the ceiling, swearing. I'd ignore it. But then I'd hear it. His footsteps outside my door. Slow, measured, pacing like he was waging the same. War I was. The first time, I gave in. I opened the door. He froze in the hallway, emerald eyes sharp, dangerous. River dash dash. I cut him off, pressing a finger to his chest. My heart hammered, my throat dry. Just don't talk. His control snapped the moment I kissed him. The wall took the brunt of it, his hands slamming against it beside my head, his mouth crushing mine. My fingers dug into his shirt, tugging him closer. Every stolen kiss was desperate, hungry, laced with the knowledge that it couldn't last, that it was suicide. We stole moments where we could, in shadows, in locked rooms, in the quiet corners of the estate. His, hands on me, mine on him, the bond sizzling hotter every time. And then, like always, he'd pull away, his breath ragged, forehead pressed to mine, whispering, "This can't happen." But it already had, over and over again. A few weeks later, the attacks didn't stop. They escalated. One night, we barely escaped an ambush outside the estate gates. Another day, poisoned food slipped through the kitchen. It wasn't just assassins anymore. It was strategy, coordinated, powerful. Finally, Jasper broke his silence. We were holed up in the study, both of us still shaken from nearly being blown apart by an explosion in the courtyard. My hands trembled as I gripped the armrest, glaring at him. You knew from the beginning. Who's doing this? His jaw tightened, green eyes burning. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, they're not just after you, River. They're after what you are. My chest tightened. You're not just an Omega. His voice cut sharp. You're the Omega, the only living heir with pure blood strong enough to tip balance. Whoever controls you controls the future. My blood went cold. So this is about power. This is about survival, he snapped. Your family's rivals, other packs, mercenaries, they all want you. To kill you. To use you. To breed you. His voice cracked on the last word, rage flashing hot across his face. That's why they won't stop. I swallowed, throat dry. And you? Why you? His stare locked on mine, unflinching. Because only I can scent them before they get close. Only I can. Stop them. Because your pack is blind and mine. His voice dropped, low, bitter. Mine knows exactly how dangerous this war will be. I should have hated him. I should have pushed him away. Instead, my heart twisted, my body leaning into the tether pulling us together. Danger, enemy, protector. He was all of it at once. Over a month later. Secrets don't last. Ours didn't. It happened fast. Too fast. One of the younger guards stumbled in at the wrong moment. Jasper's hand was fisted in my shirt. My lips swollen from his kiss. My back crushed against the library shelves. The bond hummed between us, fierce and undeniable. We froze, but it was too late. The boy's eyes went wide, horror and betrayal flashing across his face. Young master. His gaze darted lower to the faint mark on my throat. His breath caught. That's an alpha's claim. Silence, shattering. He looked at Jasper again. Really looked, and the truth bled through. Jasper didn't cower, didn't disguise himself anymore. His shoulders squared, his presence heavy, alpha power filling the room like fire. The guard's face went pale. You're not one of us, he whispered, stumbling back. You're them. His voice cracked. The rival pack. Jasper didn't flinch. He didn't deny it. Instead, he stepped forward, placing his body between me and the boy. The guard bolted, terror in every step. By nightfall, the entire pack knew, not just that I'd been with my bodyguard, but that I'd been marked, claimed, by the rival Alpha. Soon, the council gathered in fury, my father's face pale with rage. Shouts shook the chamber. Traitor, betrayal, disgrace. Fingers pointed at me, accusing, damning. You've shamed this family. He's poisoned you. Sleeping with the enemy, marked by him. My father's voice cut through the noise, trembling with rage. Don't you know what you are? How important you are? You can't be marked by just anyone. He's manipulating you, using you for power. Their words were knives, each one cutting deeper. My knees shook, but the bond burned hotter under my skin, a tether I couldn't break. And then Jasper moved. He stepped forward, emerald eyes ablaze, his hand clamping around my wrist, dragging me to his side. His voice thundered, sharp and unyielding, echoing through the hall like judgment. He is mine. The room erupted, chaos, wolves shouting, lunging, claws bared. Jasper didn't flinch. He stood like a wall, his body shielding mine, his growl a warning that rattled the air. You want to take him from me? His voice was savage, daring. Try. The war began that night. My family called for my confinement, spoke of purging the bond, tearing Jasper's claim from me by Force across the border, Jasper's pack sent word. Touch me, and they would paint the ground red. I was the match in the powder keg. The omega everyone wanted. Weapon, trophy, prize. But the bond gave me no choice. Standing there in the wreckage of alliances, Jasper's hand steady in mine, I raised my head. My voice trembled, but it carried. I choose him. Gasps. Outrage. The sound of everything I'd known collapsing around me. But Jasper only pulled me closer, lips brushing my temple, his vow a growl against my skin. You'll have to kill me to take him. The council recoiled, faces twisted in horror. My father's eyes blazed. War was real now, unavoidable. Enemies turned lovers. Protector turned mate. Reckless, ruinous, undeniable. And as the bond thrummed, wild and furious under my skin, I knew there was no going back. The next day. War wasn't clean. It was teeth on flesh, bones splintering under claws, the snow turning black with blood. It was the sound of people I grew up with howling, rage, grief, agony, and Jasper's pack answering with roars that shook. The night. The clearing was a slaughterhouse. I stumbled through it, lungs burning, the bond dragging me like a compass to Jasper's side. His broad shoulders were a wall of muscle in front of me, every movement precise, lethal, when a wolf lunged at me, a cousin I'd once played with as a boy. Jasper's hand caught his throat mid-shift and slammed him. Into the earth so hard the ground cracked. Stay behind me, Jasper growled, blood slick on his knuckles. I tried, but war was chaos, and chaos doesn't care about orders. A claw raked my arm, searing pain. I cried out. Jasper spun, eyes blazing, and in the next breath he tore the attacker away, snapping his wrist, with a sickening crack. Touch him again, Jasper snarled, his voice so deep it didn't sound human. And I'll gut you myself. Even in the middle of hell, my heart stuttered. He wasn't just protecting me, he was claiming me, every swing of his body, screaming it to the world. But on the other side, my father's pack. Wolves I had called family. Their voices were knives. Traitor! Enemy's mistress! Marked bastard! The words cut deeper than claws. My knees buckled under the weight of it, and only Jasper's arm locked. Around my waist kept me upright. The bond burned inside me, hotter than the wounds on my skin. It whispered the truth I didn't want to. Face, if this war didn't end, there would be no pack left to save. The war didn't end with victory. It ended with headlights. The rumble rolled over the battlefield like a storm. Engines, dozens of them. The tree line split open, floodlights bursting across the clearing, blinding white. Both packs froze, claws bared, growls dying on. Their lips. Then the SUVS came. Blacks, armored, marked with jagged silver insignias I recognized from my nightmares. The Syndicate. The underworld pack. Doors slammed open. Men poured out. Not wolves. Not the kind bound by nature's law, but hybrids. Bred. In secret. Muscles stacked on muscle. Tattoos of snarling beasts carved into their skin. They carried guns, gleaming with wolfsbane rounds, chains laced with silver. And at the center, their leader stepped forward. Black coat sweeping the ground, smile sharp as glass. Finally, he said, his voice oily smooth. His eyes found me instantly, like a predator finding prey. The Omega Air! My blood ran cold. The nights of being hunted, the shadows moving just beyond reach. It all snapped. Into focus. They want me, I whispered, voice shaking. That's what this has all been for. They want my bloodline. To breed power, Jasper spat, dragging me closer into his chest. His growl rumbled against my back. They won't touch you. But the truth was brutal. My blood was rare, my line older than either of our packs. A union with me meant dominion. To the Syndicate, I wasn't a person. I was a weapon. And then the strangest thing happened. My father's wolves stopped lunging at Jasper's. Jasper's pack stopped snarling back. Every single set of eyes turned outward, toward the Syndicate. Because hatred ran deep, but the hatred of outsiders, the hatred of being invaded on your own land, that ran deeper. The Syndicate advanced, floodlights blinding, weapons raised. My father's voice roared through the clearing, broken but commanding. Protect him! And for the first time in history, both packs, my pack and Jasper's, lunged as one. The clash was brutal. Both packs, rivals until seconds ago, fought as one beast, claw, tooth, and fury, against Syndicate steel and poison. Enemies turned soldiers. Rivals turned shields. Wolves tearing into the Syndicate with united fury. The world spun around me in fire and steel, and through it all, Jasper's grip never left mine. When their leader saw wolves converging, his expression split with rage. "This isn't over, Omega!" he shouted as his hybrids, battered and bleeding, dragged him back behind. Silver-plated doors, engines roared to life, and Syndicate SUVs vanished into the trees, leaving their dead behind in the scarred dark. We howled our victory, but inside, I knew the shadows they'd left would not fade easy. 12 hours later. The Syndicate retreated at dawn. Their dead littered the ground, their leader's threats still echoing in my ears. The battlefield was silent now, except for the ragged breaths of the survivors. Both packs stood across from each other, bloodied and broken, glaring through exhaustion. Hatred still burned in every glance, but under it was something harder, colder, necessity. The council met in the ruined hall, broken banners hanging like ghosts. My father's face was gaunt, his voice stripped of fire. Jasper stood beside me, defiant, his hands still laced with mine even under the weight of 100 accusing stares. One elder spoke first, his voice raw. "We cannot survive another war between us. Not with the Syndicate rising." Silence fell. Eyes darted. Between me, between Jasper. Between the faint golden shimmer of the bond, still glowing on my throat. My father's jaw clenched. His voice cut like a blade. "This bond cannot be erased. The boy is marked. If we tear them apart, we destroy ourselves. If we unite, them." He faltered, then spat the words like poison. "We may survive." Another elder leaned forward. Then a pact, a legacy. Their child will bind the packs together. Blood that belongs to both. Heir to both. One line, one alpha. Gasps erupted. Growls. Fury. But no one objected, because there was no other choice. The decree was carved into stone before sunrise. The child of River and Jasper would inherit both packs, their very existence the treaty that would keep the Syndicate at bay. My knees shook under the weight of it, but Jasper's hand slid to mine, grounding me. His lips brushed. My temple, his voice low, meant for me alone. "They'll never take you. Not them. Not anyone. You're mine." The chamber erupted into arguments, threats, grudging acceptance. But I barely heard them, because the bond hummed in my veins, fierce and undeniable. Because even in the ashes of war, with blood staining the stones around us, I felt it. We had remade the world, enemies forced to peace, hatred buried under duty, and me, standing at the center, carrying the future that would decide it all. 20 years later, the hall was alive with firelight and silence. 20 years had passed since the war that nearly destroyed us, and yet tonight, with both packs gathered, sharp, wary, expectant. 2 banners hung behind the dais, my family's crest and Jasper's, side by side but not stitched together. Separate, yet forced to touch, it was Coronation Day, and today, a new alpha would be named. I stood at the edge of the stage, Jasper's hand warm in mine. Time had carved new lines into his face, but his strength hadn't dimmed. He stood as he always had. Half shadow, half storm. All mine. Once, he'd been my bodyguard. Today, he was alpha at my side. No mask left between us. Yet still, his body leaned toward me, protective instinct never dulled. The tether of our bond shining invisible, but unbreakable. Whispers filled the crowd. Which pack will claim the heir? It can only be one. Blood belongs to both. What if the line fractures? The council raised their hands for silence. My father, older now but sharp as ever, lifted his voice. 20 years ago, a pact was struck in blood and necessity. The child of River and Jasper would inherit both packs. That day has come. The hall held its breath. I stepped forward, my pulse loud in my ears. For 20 years, the world had speculated, argued, doubted. They thought they knew the truth, that a single heir would bind the packs. But truth has teeth, and mine chose this moment to bear them. From the shadows behind me, 2 figures stepped into the firelight. Not one, 2. A boy and a girl, twins. Both tall, shoulders squared, their eyes glowing with power. The girl's gaze burned like Jasper's, sharp green fire. The boys carried my father's steel gray, tempered with quiet heat. 2 alphas side by side, tethered not by politics but by blood. The hall did not gasp. They had always known. They had raised them, trained them, loved them. This moment wasn't their surprise. It was mine to show the world. Not one leader, but 2. Not one heir, but twins. And as Jasper's hand brushed mine, steady and warm, I knew. This was the legacy our love had built. My daughter lifted her chin, her voice steady as the blade of a knife. I claim the mantle of alpha for my father's line. His blood runs in my veins, and his strength runs in my bones. And my son's voice followed, low but unyielding. And I claim the mantle of alpha for my mother's. His heart is mine, and his spirit is ours. The hall erupted, roars, disbelief, cheers, fury. Chaos cracked the silence. But over it all, Jasper's hand slid back into mine, steady, sure. He didn't look surprised, not even a little. His lips curved against my ear. They were never meant to be divided. They'll lead, but it will be together. And watching our children stand side by side, 2 alphas, 2 packs, bound in ways no blade could. Cut. I finally understood. Peace was never meant to be written in treaties. It was written in blood, in love, in the future we had carved with our own scars. The crowd quieted, awe swallowing the noise. For the first time in centuries, the path forward wasn't division or compromise. It was unity. Jasper's arm slipped around my waist, tugging me closer, his lips brushing my temple. His voice was soft, for me alone. We did it, River. 20 years later, and I'm still yours. Always your shadow, always your alpha. And as our children stepped forward, firelight glinting off their crowns, I believed it. The future wasn't fragile anymore, it was unstoppable. The end. Be honest. Would you fall for your bodyguard if he was sworn to protect you? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.